Zaskakujące słowa Rafała Trzaskowskiego.
Surprising words from the president of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, who said he was the one who made Poland independent of Russian gas supplies. Meanwhile, here in Warsaw City Hall, it's business as usual, with contracts being signed for 3 zloty with Polonized companies which are originally Russian. And in the background is the supply of liquefied natural gas, which flows the whole time despite sanctions on Russian companies from Russia to Germany. What does this look like? And are we still vulnerable to Russian influence in our country? Today, I took a closer look at the situation.
20 kilka lat się zajmowałem Unią Europejską.
I have been dealing with the European Union for 20-odd years, and I know one thing. You have to be tough when you negotiate the Polish interest, when you negotiate money, when you negotiate solutions, thanks to which we are safe. Because we were the ones who negotiated all the solutions for the energy union, thanks to which we were able to become independent from Putin. Can you imagine if we hadn't done all that? But they didn't. Agreements with Gazprom signed during the civic platform PSL era, concluded in 2010, increased Poland's dependence on Russian gas supplies. The negotiations, though they can hardly be called that, were led on the Polish side by Economy Minister Waldemar Pawlak. According to a report by the Supreme Chamber of Control, Poland did not even attempt to obtain more favourable terms for the agreement, and one of the government's recommendations was to include Russian proposals.
Kiedy rządził pan Trzaskowski i pan Tusk.
When Mr. Trzaskowski and Mr. Tusk were in power, our dependence on Russian oil and gas grew. When I was Prime Minister, we got rid of Russian gas, Russian oil and Russian coal. The contracts with Gazprom lasted until 2022, although the civic platform PSL government wanted to tie us to Russia until 2037. The United Right government opened the LNG terminal named after President Lech Kaczynski in Świnoujście in 2015.
Rafał Trzaskowski mija się z prawdą.
Rafał Trzaskowski is misleading when he says he had anything to do with making us independent of Russian gas, especially natural gas. After all, it was a company that is subordinate to him that made a deal with a company that was Russian and was Polonized for 3 zloty. So claiming that Trzaskowski had anything to do with it is total nonsense. We're talking about the shocking news that Warsaw's municipal bus company is taking gas from an entity affiliated with Russia's Gazprom. The company, just a few weeks ago, was removed from the sanctions list at the request of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Administration. The Ministry of Interior and Administration was guided by the provisions of law in its subsequent actions, first blocking the removal of the presence on the sanctions list and then giving its consent. The Russian company, Krajogaz M&T Poland, now Omne Energia SA, has been repolonized for 3 zloty. We expect Mr. Rafał Trzaskowski to stop being a hypocrite, although these expectations are very much over the top. Now it appears that Germany is bypassing Russian sanctions. According to German media itself, namely Der Spiegel, Germany is enabling major LNG imports from Russia to Europe. Despite all the energy sanctions imposed on Moscow, Europe is buying more liquefied natural gas from Russia than ever before, including through Gazprom's federally owned former subsidiary, CEFE. Imports may even increase. Unfortunately, we also have a situation in Europe where sanctions are being circumvented in a clever way, because so far no sanctions have been imposed on LNG or liquefied natural gas. As a result, the Russians are supplying gas to Germany at quantity, and Germany is Rafał Trzaskowski's main ally. How is this possible? The key role in the procedure is played by the state-owned German company CEFE. Liquefied gas from Russia to Europe does not arrive via pipelines, but at ports in France, the Netherlands and Belgium. From there, it enters the European gas pipeline system. Last year, a record of more than 5.5 billion cubic meters of LNG from CEFE to Dunkirk and the English Channel in France entered the European Union. It's scary that Germany, however, can't disassociate itself from this gas relationship, this gas love affair with Russia, which is such a raging problem for Europe. The world is immersed in war, in the crimes and tragedies occurring in Ukraine, and Germany continues to profit and make money from these contracts. Business as usual continues above all.
This is footage from a local TV station in Mali, Bamako area. A few days ago, a long convoy of Russian equipment passed through the city. Presumably, these are units withdrawn from bases in Syria, redeployed to Africa. Russian activity in Mali increased after the French contingent withdrew from there 2 years ago. It is known that the military junta was supported by the so-called Wagner Group, that is, Russian mercenaries used by the Kremlin for unofficial interventions around the world.
Despite reports that the head of Russia's Wagner mercenary group was killed, residents and analysts say that likely won't change Russia's approach or interest in the region, where it's wanted to expand its influence.
The main reason is the vast gold deposits that Putin is taking control of. Russian dominance is based on the principle of military support in exchange for a share of bullion mining. The situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been escalating for several days, where rebels of the infamous M23 group, with the support of neighboring Rwanda, are clashing with UN forces and the Congolese government.
Millions have been displaced, thousands are trapped in the besieged city of Goma with restricted access to food, water, electricity, security. Countless lives have been lost. Enough is enough. Rwanda cannot be allowed to continue to act with impunity.
This is the biggest escalation of the conflict in more than a decade, in which the Congolese authorities are trying to destroy the rebels, mainly National Army deserters who have joined the war criminal General Bosco Ntaganda. The rebels were defeated by UN forces in 2013, and now, with the support of Rwanda, they have launched a new offensive.
It really seems that the M23 is more equipped to sort of maintain these sustained military activities. That's at least what I can see from the different sources I come across. And over time, they have been able to forcibly and voluntarily recruit a lot of manpower to strengthen their ranks.
Where do they get their equipment from? That's a mystery for today, but it's not impossible that Russia has indirectly meddled in this. At least 13 UN soldiers have been killed in clashes in recent days. Peacekeepers are withdrawing in chaos. Congolese army soldiers are deserting en masse and fleeing to Rwanda, which officially supports the rebels.
If DRC government is not encouraged to take its own responsibility for its people and its country, and everybody joins them to blame others for their problems, how do you expect Congo to actually address these problems that affect all of us?
According to some observers, Russia and its actions may not be limited to the Sahel region, but will interfere wherever any conflict brews in Africa to destabilize the entire continent and thus fuel the migration crisis hitting Europe.
Will the right wing rule in the European Parliament? The European Conservatives and Reformists, a party that includes law and justice, answer yes, as long as the European Conservatives unite. At the moment, they are divided into three rival groupings. For the participants of the meeting, the main point of reference was the victory of Donald Trump and the political changes he is bringing to the United States. I asked the chairman of the European Conservatives and Reformists, Mateusz Morawiecki, whether this conservative American wave has already reached Europe. You can feel it here in Brussels, such an earthquake. So far not serious enough for everyone to get out of their comfort zone, but I think it will happen soon, not only in the area of green policies, to which President Trump has thrown down the gauntlet, but also in the area of illegal migration, the so-called Migration Pact. The list of problems in Europe today is well known. It's migration, climate policy, national security issues, and finally, perhaps the most important of them all, demographic collapse. Conservatives believe that we can deal with all of them if only we take power away from those who are responsible for these problems. The head of Romania's right-wing party, AUR, sees an opportunity for rapid change.
It's time to join forces, and if we join forces right now, we would be the first group in the European Parliament, the most powerful. So our message from the Make Europe Great Again conference is to unite. The unity makes the strength, the force.
The meeting in Brussels was not a sit-down of fat cats. There was enthusiasm, hope for change, and above all, many young people who want quick and decisive change. When? Preferably now. From Brussels, Aleksander Wierzejewski, Republika.
Z Brukseli Aleksander Wierzejewski, Republika.
Thousands of cab drivers have blocked traffic in Spanish cities, protesting insurance price hikes. Long processions of white cabs stretched across Madrid's Castellana Avenue and Barcelona's airport access, forcing drivers to be patient or change their routes or plans. A cavalcade of white cabs drove through downtown Madrid, from the Ministry of Transportation to the Ministry of Economy. Spanish cab drivers say insurance premiums have risen by as much as 300% in the past 3 years, making it difficult for them to earn a living. This is robbery in broad daylight. All of a sudden, the price of insurance has gone up by 200 or 300%. Specifically, I have a 30% increase, but we have colleagues who pay 7,000 euros each. Protesters blame the premium increase on a high number of accidents among ride-hailing companies such as Uber, claiming that insurance companies treat them the same way and arguing that official white cabs are safer. They lump us all together with ride-sharing companies, which have 22% more accidents. I, for example, in 15 years have had only one accident through my own fault. Why should I pay such an absurd amount of money? The insurance industry is defending the increases, claiming that rising repair costs and higher claims have caused companies to suffer losses in recent years. It's an abuse, and it's happening at a time when we simply can't pay the amounts they are proposing. Insurance, yes. Fraud, no, is the protesters' slogan. Cab drivers say the industry has never seen such a difficult situation before. We have liability insurance that all public services have to pay, and the cab sector also pays for the consequences of a large number of accidents by other carriers. Protesters also point out that the cost of the insurance policy is compounded by the difficulty of meeting European and local environmental requirements.